Hi there and welcome back to the Vastrap Kitchen. It's time to shape our loaves, do the final shape. We've pre-shaped them, we've rested them for 15 to 20 minutes and now it's time to shape them and put them into the bannetons. I have a separate video on all the equipment, so please take a look at that if you want to know more about it. So I'm going to do one round one and one bowl shape one, and this is how I do it. Let's start with the long shape. So these bannetons are seasoned quite well, which means that they've already got quite a lot of flour residue in them, but I still do put some flour in. I do just use normal flour, but it's actually better to use rice flour or even some maizena or corn flour mixed in with the flour, because that helps to stop sticking. But because I've got the inserts in my bowls, I'm not too concerned about sticking. Right, so for this step you do use some flour. In the previous step I only used water, but I do a light dusting of flour over the top of the bowl at the moment, of the dough. And this top part of the dough is going to be my unsticky part. You'll see once the bottom side is a bit stickier than the top side, so I'm going to flip it over and then work with so that the side that's not as sticky is going to be on the surface. But again, I want to handle the dough as little as possible in order to preserve all those beautiful bubbles that we've spent all this time nurturing. So using my dough scraper and hands that have got flour on, keep the flour close at hand. I'm going to do that and gently flip it over. Okay, keep your dough scraper close by, because if you feel like it's sticking on the table, rather than kind of fighting with the dough, use your scraper to gently lift it until you find a spot that doesn't stick. Okay, so I'm going to pull it out a little bit and flip it over sort of 1/3. Pull out the one side, other side. Okay, and now I'm going to fold the top, so now it looks almost like a letter shape. Fold the top over like that. Mommy. Yes, love? Okay.
There's a mouse in the house.
A mouse in the house, okay. Now I'm going to make bunny ears in,
That's
and quickly
sticky.
tighten the corset like that.
Me, that's sticky.
I'm not going to fight against it. I'm just going to go like that. Okay. And that looks perfect. Seems like there's been a mouse in the house. Much excitement. Okay, so I'm putting that bowl to one side. I'll just do that again with the round one. Okay. Make it into a sort of a rectangle shape. Fold it up. So I can feel it sticking on the side, so I'm just going to loosen it a bit. To the side, the other side, so it's a letter shape. Gently shimmy it over like that. Bunny ears across. Just strap it a little bit in the middle, very gently. So you see, I've hardly used any flour. I haven't played around too much with the dough. It's still got lots of nice bubbles, but the general shape has been set. My hands are not really full of dough. If your dough hasn't bulk fermented enough, you would have seen in the pre-shaping stage that it wouldn't have those rounded edges that help it to keep the shape. It would have tried to sort of flow off the table. If that's the case, it hasn't bulk fermented enough and you need to leave it for longer. Don't divide it at that time. Rather just put it back in the bowl and leave it for longer. But if it's got enough bubbles and if you've done your folds like I showed you, then you should have structure in the dough and you should have enough structure and enough fermentation and air for things to keep its shape, even with a relatively wet dough. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in the vanillin. So let me just move that so you can see. Take my scraper. The long end is like this. I'm just going to put the scraper, put some flour on my hands, the scraper underneath, and flip it over and close it like a book. Hold it a little bit. Hold it. And then if you want to just gently stitch a little bit, but don't worry about that too much. It should have enough tension anyway. Okay. So there's my one baby. I'm going to put some flour over the top so that the plastic doesn't stick when I put it on. Okay, so for the round, I'm going to take this one, and I think I'll do something that I haven't really done before. I'm just going to gently coax it into a rounder shape, like that. Okay, and I'm going to lift it up, flip it around, and place it in the basket. Okay, so the top part here is going to be your bottom crust, because you're going to turn them over when we bake them. So this is going to be the bottom of your bread. So you flip it over so that it lies with the uneven side on top. Okay, so they're my two shaped loaves. Now, in deciding how to do the final proof, you kind of need to think, when are you going to have time to bake? Now, if it was going to be just a proof on its own in room temperature, with an ambient proof, it would probably take about an hour and a half to 2 hours for these loaves to be proofed properly. But I don't have time. I don't really, it's sort of lunchtime-ish now, and I don't really feel like baking mid-afternoon. I'd rather do other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it out on the counter for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And then after that, I'm going to put it in the fridge. And then I'll bake them tonight when the oven's on and, you know, there's stuff going on in the kitchen and it's not going to interrupt my day. So part of this will have a cold proof in the oven. Because I mix this dough during the day, I probably won't leave it in the fridge until tomorrow morning. You could do that if you're putting it in a cold fridge. But it just shows how you can use the fridge to help the bread kind of fit in with your schedule and not let the bread totally dominate you, which I think in the beginning one sort of had a sense that you can't leave the dough alone and you have to stick to your schedule like 100%. So do use the fridge to help you with that. And yeah, check out the video of how the bread is baked coming up next. Thank you. Bye.